Hey guys, it's Lindsay, and I just want to start by saying a massive congratulations to Rassie Erasmus and the Springboks for not taking my advice and persisting with the fantastically frantic Faf de Klerk at scrum half and the non-distributing 10 in Andre Pollard, because we built that World Cup victory, that whole campaign, on the defensive qualities of both of those players. So yeah, despite what I said in my earlier video, which is linked somewhere down below, that was the best way to go, apparently. Congratulations guys, massively proud. But today, we need to talk about South Africa's water crisis. So let's get into it. When 2015 me visited the Garden Route, so Knysna, Sedgefield, that whole picturesque holiday destination for the nation, that was me trying to figure out how they recovered from their 2009 devastating drought. And when I got there, the evidence that I found was quite shocking. So the super expensive to run and super expensive to install desalination plant at Mayoli Beach in Sedgefield, that was rusting, and it was pretty much a harem for puff adders. So side note, I love all snakes, but I don't like puff adders so much because most snakes try and get away from you when you're walking, but puff adders just lay there and then you step on them and they bite you and you die. So Sedgefield and Knysna was a microcosm of the ineptitude, the corruption, and just the mismanagement that goes on in the country's best run province. So that was directly before the dry spell that was going to hit Cape Town and then eventually turned out to be Cape Town's day zero crisis. There was a massive El Nino present in 2015 to 2016, so that drove away all the seasonal rains. But no one could have predicted how close to disaster that spell would drive Cape Town. Because in 2017 and 2016, the rains never came. The dam levels dropped. We started 2018 flirting with like 20%, sometimes 15% in our dams, and it got really tight. So at that stage, water use in Cape Town was already almost at capacity. The installed storage base that we have down here could only cater and can only cater for about 800 million cubic meters per year of use. And the Berg River Dam project kicked the day zero can to about 2022, and then further augmentation to the Falsley Dam, and then getting the desalination plants up and running. That would put us at like 2035, where our usage will far outstrip what we can supply. That same year in 2015, drought hit Gauteng, and they were faced with a lot of restricted water supply as well. So even in the Free State region, in the August of that year, they had to open up some gates and send some water from the Lesotho Highlands project just to fill up the dams in the area, because there was a spring heat wave and none of the associated thunderstorms. So in 2009, the Department of Water Sanitation said that Gauteng would run dry, or at least their consumption would reach their installed storage capacity in a decade. So that was 2019. And those chickens have come home to roost in dramatic fashion. So it all comes down to the Lesotho Highlands project. So back in 1986, South African government struck a deal with the Lesotho government to get water from the Katse Dam all the way down the As River into the Vaal Dam. And that would then be augmented with Lesotho Highlands Project Phase 2, which would be the construction of the Polihali Dam that would cater for all of the Gauteng water needs. But then in 2015, the then Minister Nomvula Makonyane stopped all the tender processes for the dam construction. She then tried to siphon money into companies where she had vested interests, and then only awarded contracts for the pipe construction. That was in 2017. So then that pushed the dam construction timelines out to 2026. And you know those tunnels that were constructed to take water from Katse down all the way to the Vaal? Those tunnels were closed for maintenance during October and November of 2019. And that caused the water restrictions that Gauteng was facing recently. So that was a planned outage. But the reality of the situation is a lot more frightening. Currently at the end of 2019, the Vaal River system, which has 14 associated dams, is running at 65% capacity. The Vaal Dam itself is only at about half capacity. And then there was no winter snows in Lesotho, and at risk of triggering all my Cape Townian viewers, there was no snow melt, which meant that the Katse Dam is currently running 15 to 20% depending on who statistics you believe in. So the problem is climate change has shifted our weather patterns and we can't predict on the same models that we used to use. And then the consumption rate of South Africans is not going down at any time because our population is still expanding. So this is a big problem because in 2018, at the height of the water crisis, the average Cape Townian brought down their usage to about 70 liters per person per day. The national average is closer to 200 liters per person per day. And Gauteng, that will push up to about 300 liters per person per day. Serving that amount of water to meet that demand in Gauteng is also its own problem. Joburg alone sits 300 meters above the Vaal Dam. So to pump water to serve the city of Johannesburg uses a lot of energy. And then all that energy uses more water because of our coal power station. So how do we fix this? Firstly, we all need to do our part and reduce our water consumption. We need to use rainwater, reclaim wastewater, and just stop wasting water as much as possible. Be it with the JoJo tanks, be it diverting your bath water back into your cisterns, like that's the biggest problem. So what we have done before was try and rely on technologies from other countries. So Cape Town invested a lot of money in Israeli engineers to come solve our water problems down this side. So that meant desalination plants. So desalination plants are great, but again, the energy cost when you're squeezing a lot of seawater through a very, very small hole, so only just H2O passes out the other side and all the salt goes back. That's the basic engineering that we have been using. Also, our power generation, that is using steam technology that was developed during the Industrial Revolution. So on that side, it's simple. You need renewable energy resources to power the desalination plants so that we're not literally wasting water to make water. Then it's also how we are treating our water resources. So when I was down in Sedgefield back in 2015, the most impressive thing was that the operations guys on the ground, they just went about concreting all their well points, just making everything right so that when they need to tap into those extra resources, that they were available and in good nick. The other big problem is, while Gauteng is run by the ANC, the city of Joburg is run by the DA. The Western Cape is run by the DA. So there's a lot of politicking where smaller parties will try and pin things on national government instead of taking ownership of their own processes. And there's a lot of things happening in the background. Smaller governments, the opposition parties where they are in power, will also not cooperate with national government in a helpful way to make national government look bad. So we need to also stop this whole culture of trying to pin blame on people and make other people look bad. It's just negative. So we need to also maybe try adopting other means of transportation, because about 15% of our water in this country is being used to refine the petrol that we use to ride. Agriculture is also another big player. 43% of water that is used in South Africa is used in the agriculture sector. That's not even counting in animal farming. That's just growing food, like literally just growing plants to feed us. If we move a lot of that production into a more water efficient method like hydroponics, where you can recycle a lot of the water being used that's going to waste through that, and not just spraying it into lands and letting it go into the earth and maybe wash away in the river systems, that would also help a lot. But mainly it comes down to two things. One, we all individually in South Africa need to stop wasting water. Only use water that you need to drink, to cleanse yourself, and try and recapture a lot of that water and reuse it in a smarter way. Maybe change your toilet. Like buy a toilet with a more efficient flushing system, maybe with a smaller cistern. At home, I fall foul to it as well. One of our toilets uses a 5-liter cistern, the other one uses a 7-liter cistern. And the 7-liter cistern is the toilet that most people use in the house. So we try and fill that up with rainwater that we recapture through tanks and then pour bottles into that. Or we use like a bucket in the shower, that sort of bucket system. That helps a lot. It brings down the water consumption quite significantly. We should not literally piss away 5 liters of water every time we need to take a bathroom break. The second thing is we need to put more pressure on our local governments so that they are using things effectively. We are a water scarce country and we need to start acting like it. We haven't done so before. So South Africa, this is the time, man. We need to bring that national average of water use, we need to halve it. We need to bring it down to about 100 liters per day per person, Maybe like 120 liters a day per person would be great, but not ideal. So yeah, wherever you are, just try and do your bit, man. You can't live without water. You can't create energy without water. And we should all start thinking about climate change a little bit differently because it affects more than just the weather, man. But that's just my opinion. Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I like engaging in debate. There's a healthy community of watchers that are now actively engaging me, which is great. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell to not miss another one. And yeah, I'll check you in the next one. Cheers.